By the time you finish watching this video, 90% of you will realize you've been teaching To Kill a Mockingbird wrong your entire life, and the other 10% will simply unsubscribe out of shame. Welcome back to Explain Girl, the only corner of YouTube where novels get unzipped, characters are dragged into the spotlight, and your English grade gets a glow up faster than Scout Finch can throw a punch. I'm your host, Girl, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button before Atticus finishes his closing argument. Because around these parts, we don't just read books, we interrogate them under the courthouse lights until they confess every hidden symbol, every whispered theme, and every line that makes you go, wait, did Harper Lee just call out the entire justice system in a single sentence? Buckle up, Mockingbirds. Class is in session and the verdict is about to drop. Maycomb, Alabama, 1932. The town is old, drowsy, and strewn with dusty oaks that drip Spanish moss. A single mockingbird repeats its liquid catalog from the cupola of the deserted courthouse, while a freight train moans somewhere beyond the cotton gin. In the side yard of the Finch house, 6-year-old Jean Louise Finch, scout to everyone, swings gently on a rubber tire swing, her overalls snagging the light. Her brother Jem, 3 years older, football helmeted by a cardboard helmet, races toward her with a tin shield and a broomstick sword. Their summer kingdom is bounded by their own gate, Miss Rachel Haverford's collared patch, the mysterious Radley place, and the schoolyard fence. Within it, they invent sagas of pirates, witches, and lost diamonds. Dill arrives tomorrow, and the season will quicken into legend. The next morning, a yellow boarding house Packard wheezes to a stop in front of Miss Rachel's. Out climbs Charles Baker Harris, small enough to fit in a letterbox, boastful as a congressman, and already famous in Maycomb for having seen Dracula at the picture show. He announces that he can read, that he is 7 going on 70, and that he will marry Scout as soon as they get grown and have some money. Jem snorts, but by noon Dill has paid the first installment of his summer rent, a copy of The Grey Ghost and 2 licorice drops. The 3 of them squat beneath the oak in the backyard and survey the shuttered Radley house as if it were inhabited by dragons. Dill dares Jem to touch the porch. Jem, remembering the tale of Boo Radley who stabbed his father with scissors, pretends indifference. Dill raises the stakes. I'll give you my Grey Ghost and the book I'm going to get for my birthday. Jem's courage is thus purchased. He slips through the gate, sprints across the yard, slaps the weather gray clapboard with his palm, and vaults back. Nothing happens, no scream, no shadow, no sudden hand at the throat, yet the air itself seems to exhale, and the children feel, without knowing the word, the chill of transgression. July drags its hot feet across the town. The children's games grow bolder. They build a snowless snowman out of mud and name it Mr. Avery. They shinny up the collard stalks to peer over the Radley fence. They try to send a note to Boo by means of a fishing pole slipped through the shutter. Atticus catches them at it. He is a man in his 50s, mild-eyed, slow to anger, possessed of the courthouse gait of someone who has never had to run from anything. Stop tormenting that man, he says quietly. What Mr. Radley does is his own business. You will not make fun of him, you will not play tricks on him, and you will not go near that house unless you are invited. And you will not be invited. The lecture is so soft that it feels like velvet wrapped around a stone. Scout, who has never seen her father raise a hand, understands that she has heard law delivered in a living room voice. The day the mad dog comes is breathless. Calpurnia, the Finch's cook, is banging pans in the kitchen when she sees the stagger of Tim Johnson, liver-colored, froth-lipped, moving down the street like a broken metronome. She screams for Atticus, who telephones Heck Tate, the sheriff. The children watch from the porch as the dog advances, its spine arched, its eyes filmed with the gray of approaching death. Heck arrives with a rifle, but when he sees the angle of the shot, the dog is directly in line with the Radley house. He thrusts the weapon at Atticus. Take him, Mr. Finch. I can't shoot that well, and you know it. Atticus protests, I haven't shot a gun in 30 years, but the sheriff's voice is final. Atticus steps into the street, glasses slip to his forehead, and in one fluid motion raises the rifle, aims, and fires. The sound is a whip crack that snaps the day in two. The dog drops as if the earth has opened. Jem and Scout stand transfixed. They have learned in a single instant that their father, the book-reading, waistcoat-wearing, calm-voiced lawyer, is the deadliest shot in Maycomb County. Miss Maudie Atkinson, leaning over her azaleas, tells them later, "People in their right minds never take pride in their talents. Your father's gift is to be the kind of man God's given the power to do justice, then the grace never to use it except when he must. Summer fades into school. Scout, who has read since birth by sitting in Atticus's lap while he followed the print with a finger, is told by her first-grade teacher that she must stop reading at home because it interferes with the system. Scout loathes the system. She loathes the dewy little alphabet cards, the paste smell, the bell that rings like a jail yard gong. She would rather walk home with Jem and talk about the trial that is coming. Atticus has been appointed by the court to defend Tom Robinson, a Negro field hand accused of raping a white woman named Mayella Ewell. The town mutters. The children hear it at the lunch table, at the sewing circle, in the checker games on the courthouse lawn. One evening, a group of men gather on the Finch sidewalk. They speak in low voices about the trouble this will bring, about letting the black vote organize, about what people will say. Atticus listens, replies in questions softer than silk, and the men drift away unsatisfied. Scout, watching from the window, feels the first cold touch of something she will later name prejudice, though for now it is only the shape of absence. The absence of her father's smile. The night before the trial, Atticus drives the family car downtown, something he almost never does. Jem, Scout, and Dill, forbidden to follow, slip through the darkness anyway and find Atticus seated alone under the single bulb of the jailhouse door, reading under a cone of light. A cluster of cars arrives. Men in work clothes climb out. Their voices are polite, but their shoulders are hard. They want Tom Robinson. Atticus closes his book, stands, and says evenly, "You can turn around and go home." The men shuffle, one of them spitting tobacco juice into the dust. Scout, not understanding, runs to her father, burrowing through the wall of legs. She recognizes Mr. Cunningham, the man whose son Walter eats syrup on everything. In her innocence, she begins to talk to him about entailments and Walter and how things take time, and her small voice cracks the night like a bell. Mr. Cunningham squats, touches her shoulder, says, "I'll tell Walter you said hey," and then, as if waking from a dream, he tells the others to leave. The mob dissolves, the cars back away. Atticus, his hand trembling almost imperceptibly, rested on Scout's head. Tom Robinson calls from the dark of the cell, "They gone, Mr. Finch?" Atticus answers, "They've gone. Get some sleep, Tom." The children walk home under a sky washed clean by their own incomprehension. The trial is held in the courthouse, whose paint has blistered into maps of continents unknown. The balcony is reserved for Negroes. The main floor is jammed with white farmers in overalls, ladies in sailor hats, children wriggling like puppies. Judge Taylor, a man who chews dry cigars and rules with the mildness of a Sunday school superintendent, presides. The prosecution is led by Mr. Gilmer, sleek as a seal, his voice oiled with courtesy. Atticus wears the same gray suit he wears to church. His voice is so quiet the courtroom leans forward to catch it. The Ewells take the stand. Bob Ewell, left-handed, red-faced, swaggering. Mayella, a poor white girl who has never been called ma'am in her life, terrified and furious by turns. The facts are simple and contradictory. Bruises on the right side of Mayella's face, consistent with a left-handed assailant, no doctor summoned. Tom Robinson's withered left arm, crippled in a cotton gin accident when he was a boy. Atticus's questions peel back the skin of politeness. "Who beat you?" "He did." "With which hand?" "I don't recollect." "You're left-handed, Mr. Ewell." "I'm ambidextrous." Laughter ripples, is slapped down. Then Tom takes the stand. His voice is soft but unbroken. He tells how he chopped kindling for Mayella because he felt sorry for her, sorry that no one helped her with the chifforobe or the children, sorry that she was lonelier than any person he had ever met. The word sorry hangs in the air like a confession, and the white jury shifts uncomfortably. A black man is not supposed to feel sorry for a white woman. Mr. Gilmer pounces, his voice rising to a jeer. "You're mighty sorry for her, aren't you, boy?" Tom's eyes flash, but he holds his tongue. Atticus's final speech is a whisper that becomes a drum. This case is as simple as black and white. The state has not produced one iota of medical evidence that the crime was ever committed. It has relied instead upon the assumption that all Negroes lie, that all Negroes are immoral, that all Negro men are not to be trusted around white women. Gentlemen, a court is no better than each man sitting in the jury box. In the name of God, do your duty. The jury is out for 5 hours. They return a verdict of guilty. The courtroom exhales, not in surprise, but in relief that the familiar order has been restored. Jem sits stunned, tears sliding down his cheeks. "It ain't right, Atticus." No, son, it's not right. The days after the trial are long and gray. Tom Robinson is sent to Enfield Prison Farm. Atticus files an appeal. Bob Ewell, publicly humiliated, spits at Atticus on the post office steps. Too proud to fight, you nigger-lovin' bastard? Atticus wipes his face with a handkerchief. No, too old, he says, and walks away. Scout wants to fight everyone in Maycomb. Jem broods, Dill dreams of running away to New Orleans and becoming a clown so he can laugh at people. Summer edges back, thick with honeysuckle and resentment. Then the news comes. Tom Robinson tried to climb the prison fence during exercise hour, was shot 17 times in the back. Atticus drives to tell Tom's wife, Helen. Scout, hidden in the car, sees Helen crumple like a marionette whose strings have been slashed. That night, Atticus sits on the porch-rocker staring at the dark. I guess Tom was tired of white men's chances and preferred to take his own, he says. Scout climbs into his lap, feels the tremor that runs through him like distant thunder. The pageant approaches. Maycomb's agricultural high school is to stage a history of the county. Scout, drafted to play a ham, must wear a wire costume shaped like a pork loin and deliver one line. Pork is the king of meats, during the final tableau. Jem, now nearly 13, agrees to escort her, though he considers such festivities beneath him. The night is moonless. The children cut across the schoolyard afterward, Scout still encased in her ham wire. Someone, later it will be said to be Bob Ewell, follows them under the oaks. A rustle, a footfall, the sudden drag of wire against bark, and then the attack. Arms flailing, metal squealing, Jem's scream, Scout's blind tumble. A stranger erupts from the Radley gate. There is a scuffle, a sickening crack of bone, a gurgle, and silence. Scout, pinned inside her costume, sees nothing. She feels Jem being lifted, hears his breathing ragged, then feels herself picked up and carried toward the road. Streetlight spills over the man's shoulders. It is Boo Radley, pale, thin, almost translucent, carrying Jem as if he were made of thistledown. Inside the Finch house, Atticus and Hecate bend over Jem's unconscious form. Dr. Reynolds pronounces a broken arm but no internal injury. Scout stands in the corner, still wearing half a ham. When she finally looks up, she sees Boo in the shadow of the bedroom door, his hand reaching tentatively toward Jem's head. His face is childlike, frightened, eager to be asked to stay. "Will you take me home?" Scout hears herself say. She slips her hand into his. It is cool and delicate as a woman's. They walk the few steps to the Radley porch. Boo pauses, turns, and for a moment Scout imagines she sees the curve of a smile. He releases her hand, steps inside, and the door closes without sound. Standing on the porch, she looks out at the street she has played in all her life, sees it now from the angle of the prisoner, the recluse, the man who has watched childhood unfold like a silent picture show. She understands that she is, at last, inside his skin and walking around in it. The epilogue is brief. Hecate argues with Atticus in the kitchen. Bob Ewell is dead, fallen on his own knife, and Heck insists the story must stand that way. There's a black boy dead for no reason, and now the man responsible is dead. Let the dead bury the dead this time, Mr. Finch. Atticus, ever the advocate of absolute truth, finally yields. Scout walks her father to the porch. Mr. Ewell fell on his knife, she repeats, tasting the words. Heck was right. Atticus looks at her, startled by the maturity in her voice. She thinks of the mockingbird that sang in the early dark, of Atticus's warning that it is a sin to kill one because it doesn't do anything but make music for us to enjoy. She thinks of Tom Robinson, of Boo Radley, of all the gentle creatures who have been shot at or caged or simply erased by the louder necessity of keeping the world the way it is. The moon rises, turning the street silver. Atticus settles into his rocker. Scout curls against his knee. Inside, Jem sleeps under the influence of morphine, dreaming perhaps of football and algebra and the long, equitable future his father still believes in. Scout closes her eyes. Somewhere, a mockingbird rehearses a new refrain, careless of courts and juries, certain only of the endless summer night. The story ends, as all stories must, with the child becoming the teller becoming the memory folding itself quietly into the heart of the town, into the heart of the reader, where it will wait, patient as grass, for the next season's growth.